Hello there, I'm Stephen McCoy, and with me is fellow OR attorney Todd Book. In light of the recently announced NAR settlement, we at Ohio Realtors have received many questions about the steps moving forward. Todd, one question you and I receive on the hotline and beyond involves the pressing question about the impact of the NAR settlement and commissions in relation to buyer financing. Certainly, buyers seek out the expertise and skill of an experienced real estate brokerage, but the broker would also like to ensure that they get paid.
You're right, Stephen. To give everyone a little context, historically, buyers have had three primary options to compensate their brokers. 1, listing brokers can compensate the buyer broker. 2, the seller can compensate the buyer broker. Or 3, the buyer can compensate their brokerage directly. So this begs the question, what is the impact from the settlement, and can buyers still obtain financing under these scenarios?
It's a great question, Todd. In short, the immediate impact is minimal, if any at all, but perhaps there should be an asterisk in our video at this point in the event of a regulatory rule change, which we're keeping an eye on. In short, the buyers will still have the same options when it comes to paying or financing their commissions. NAR has been in contact with agencies such as Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the FHA, and they still believe that buyers should be able to obtain financing under each of those scenarios. NAR believes that nothing has changed the ability of buyers to obtain a mortgage through those agencies. Todd, what about the folks over at the VA?
The VA, who administers the VA Home Loan Program for veterans, has not addressed whether it will change its requirement prohibiting VA buyers from paying the commission. We know NAR is working closely with their partners in the lending community to gain greater understanding and guidance moving forward. Stephen, we do know often there are limits or caps on the amount of money that can be contributed. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Todd, you're absolutely correct about that, especially with respect to Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the FHA. Nothing has changed the buyer's ability to obtain a mortgage through them. But it is important to point out that these agencies do specify limits or caps on how much a seller or broker can contribute to the buyer to pay for services customarily paid for by the buyer. These do exclude those customarily paid for by the seller. These caps could limit any additional closing costs or rate buy-down concessions. However, important to note, the FHA did confirm recently to NAR that if sellers continue to pay the buyer-side real estate agent commissions as a matter of custom or Ohio law, and provided other conditions are met, such as the fees being reasonable, existing policy as we have it today would not treat those payments against those caps, which are those amounts which are subject to those limits. So that is great news for buyers under FHA policy. But Todd, this naturally leads to the next question. Can real estate commissions be financed?
Unfortunately, financing commissions into mortgages is not feasible under the current regulatory structure, and there is no clear short-term legislative or regulatory fix. Whether it's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or the FHA, none of these agencies will allow a buyer to finance a commission into the mortgage at this time. Simply stated, investors will only lend against an asset they can take back and sell in the case of a foreclosure. It is possible for a buyer to obtain a personal loan to pay for the commission. However, these types of loans can have higher interest rates and could impact the prospects of the original mortgage application.
You're right, Todd. But we know that industry leaders and NAR are working diligently with lending and legislative partners to tackle this problem in light of a changing marketplace. As developments take place with respect to financing and beyond, Ohio Realtors will continue to be your leading source for information. Thank you.